Hey, Armand here with your forecast for July of 2021. We're past the halfway point in 2021 now. That's something, right? All right, so I want to point out that this is a monthly forecast, and week. I like weekly forecast. I like dealing with a chunk of a week. A week has its own rhythm to it. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Well, the whole days of the week thing, and then you throw some astrology in there. You have some hot days in the week, and you have some cooler days in the week, and it kind of is a manageable chunk. When we start talking about a month or, heaven forfend, a year, we start talking about a really big length of time. And of course, what's going to be valid for everybody watching? Nothing. If you watch regularly, if you like what you're seeing, you probably resonate with what I have to say. So it's not quite so random, but it's still, a month is a lot of time. And the important thing we have to recognize is, as we go through a month, we have all of these little choice and decision points, which is what I'm pointing out. But how we handle each one of those at, let's say at the beginning of the month, will show us at the end of the month where we have wound up. So, keep hitting these little decisions, and then you zigzag your way to where you're going. By the end of the month, it's a long ways away. That's even true for the collective. So, a week is manageable, but a month is starting to get a little bit out there. So, you know, don't take it too seriously. Not that I flatter myself that you take this too seriously, but you know what I'm saying. It's just don't. It's just a thing. You're watching some YouTube. Have a cup of coffee and a cookie or something like that. All right. Also, I want to start right out. I do want to give a shout out to the Integrated Minds YouTube channel, where Natalie, I talk, not always wonderfully. Natalie Delahaye and I did an interview recently with feng shui expert Donna Stellhorn, and it was really, really good, and I learned a lot about feng shui. I didn't know that much to begin with, so learning a lot was fairly easy, but I think you'll really enjoy that. I'll put the channel name down below, and you can go check that out. But, okay, let's talk about July. July is bookended by hot aspects, right? So we get right at the very beginning of the month, and then right at the end of the month. And in the middle, we got some stuff, but it's not the kind of intensity that we had from late or mid-May through the end of June. All right, the first couple of days of July continue that energy forward just a little ways. But then it's a little bit more settled kind of feeling. And I think what we're doing a lot this summer is integrating some of those big changes that we had over the course of the last year or so, over the course of many years. This is a time of integration. It's a little bit of settling in and figuring out what it all means. So, at the very beginning of the month, on July 1st, we have Mars opposite Saturn. It happens early on July 1st, so we'd be past it quickly, except for the fact that the moon makes aspects to both Saturn and Mars, and so continues the energy throughout Thursday the 1st, and maybe just at the very beginning of Friday the 2nd. And then the next big aspect we have on the 3rd, which is Saturday, is Mars square Uranus. Now, Mars-Saturn is containment and restraint, right? And Mars-Uranus is impulsive and explosive. So what we have here is a classic wind-up situation. Mars-Saturn winds up the tension. Mars-Uranus lets it go. So yeah, there's a degree of concern would not be out of the question. A lot of folks, not you, but a lot of folks are going to have trouble with that Mars-Uranus. Now, if we look at, let's say, let's make a little analogy here. It's like you're in a sports car that can really go fast, and you're stuck in traffic, and you're just plodding along, stop, go 2 miles an hour, stop, go 2 miles an hour. That's Mars in Leo opposite Saturn in Aquarius. And then Mars-Uranus is all of a sudden the traffic clears and you jam on the accelerator and you go flying. It feels good. It's not necessarily the the best idea. So we're going to have a big constrain and release at the beginning of the month. What we can do with this is to focus our energies, really and truly, through the first 4 or 5 days of the month. You can take just about any project, focus your energies on it. Really, with determined effort, you can make great progress. Both of these aspects are going to help make great progress. It's not a time for multitasking. It's not a time for trying to do a lot of different stuff. It is a time for focusing your energies. And if you have excess energies with that Mars-Uranus aspect over the 3rd and 4th, then it's a great time to some sensible exercise, and just generally speaking, a little bit of competition might be fun. We have the moon in Aries on Thursday, and then it goes into Taurus and meets with Uranus, as the weekend progresses. A little competition, a little something that might be kind of fun to have a game or something like that. Good way to handle the energy if you're not being terribly productive. Watch out driving and all that type of stuff. Now, speaking of watch out driving, on July 6th, that's Tuesday, on July 6th, there is the 3rd and final square, this time around, between Mercury and Neptune. And, Mercury-Neptune squares, Mercury in Gemini, ready to consider all possibilities, Neptune in Pisces, expanding and dissolving boundaries. It's not a time when you're going to get a lot of, real solid, concrete information. People are playing fast and loose with the truth, not necessarily in a bad way. It's just, a good story is, good enough. You don't have to have any facts that back it up, or you can bend the facts around your story. It's that kind of energy. So, this is not a good time. Think about it as Mercury retrograde times 5. And it was quite a Mercury retrograde because this aspect was busy all the way through the retrograde. So July 6th has some, unclear, uncertain kind of energy. It's the 5th and the 6th, you'll really be feeling that. However, the upside of this is if there were issues that came up in late May and have failed to be resolved, this might be the time when they get resolved. Because the first time that Mercury squared Neptune before his retrograde, here comes the issue. He squared him again during the retrograde. We didn't really solve any problems there. And now that he's going forward again, maybe now we can finally get some resolution to things. There's a couple of ideas for you. The new moon is on July 9th. It's in the sign of Cancer. It has a lot to do with our sense of security, well-being, our home, our clan. There is a little pull towards nationalism. I think that what we'll get with this new moon is it's the beginning of the time when we're looking forward towards sort of sorting out issues on the area of like the environment and the earth and stuff like that. It's a very global kind of thing. If we get past our own little comfort zone security areas, it's like you're in the security zone. If you get past the security zone, it has much more to do with global issues. And, we're already seeing tremendous weather changes, all across the globe. The Pacific Northwest of the U.S. is getting hit really hard, but everybody's getting really wonky weather and all kinds of effects from climate change. So this is the beginning of that. Now we're gonna not the beginning of that by any stretch of the imagination. It's the beginning of our discussion about it, our next discussion about it, because we've been talking about it for a while. And right around the 16th through the 18th, when Ceres, the Sun, and Pluto all form aspects with each other, again, a big emphasis on climate, global types of issues, right? So that's a big theme for July. Kind of starts at the new moon, and it kind of peaks, I think, at mid-month. Sun is opposite Pluto on the 17th, so 15th, 16th, 17th. There's a strong energy that could be a power struggle in many regards. Let's see. Now, Venus meets Mars on the 13th. That's always, Venus meeting Mars is always kind of a passionate well, it always has the potential for passion, especially so in Leo. You know, what with the whole pandemic, and it's not really receding, just sort of shifting around. But, if you've been vaccinated and you're outdoors and it's summertime, things feel a lot more normal than they did last year or even a few months ago. So there's good potential for socializing and fun. Again, I feel I feel for some reason I keep picturing like a tennis game, which I don't play tennis, but it's that sort of thing. A little competition, a little socializing seems to go well together. It has nice potential for a bunch of stuff, though. I mean, there is Venus is the planet of love, and Mars has a lot to do with drive of all kinds, including sex drive. So that could work out really nicely for some folks. What else do we have going on? On July 21st, Venus leaves. She leaves Leo and goes into Virgo, which is her least favorite sign. Venus is social, and Virgo is a little bit more channeled in its focus, more focused. And so Venus in Virgo is usually not considered to be the best placement. Yeah, it's not bad. It's just not. It's not the typical image of socializing romance. It's also not so considered to be so great for finances. The thing is, this year though, as soon as Venus gets into Virgo, she opposes Jupiter. And I mean like 8 minutes after she gets into Virgo. And I don't mean 8 minutes of arc in the circle. I mean 8 minutes of time. She opposes Jupiter, because Jupiter is retrograding right out of Virgo, and Venus comes into it, and so they pass each other just 8 minutes into the sign at 0 degrees Virgo Pisces. Very, very charged energies. So, and Venus and Jupiter, they get along fine. Jupiter's in Pisces, which he loves, and he's sort of sending a nice message to Venus, like, it's not so bad. So, it's maybe not as indulgent as you might like, but you can, healthy organic dinner with a nice glass of organic wine, and, you enjoy yourself just fine. Let's see. The Sun enters Leo July 20th. I have notes. July 22nd, right before the full moon on July 23rd. Now, the full moon is going to be at 1 degree of Aquarius, which means that the August full moon will also be in Aquarius. It'll be at 29 degrees of Aquarius, or 28 or something like that. That's next month. What are you asking me now? So we're going to get 2 full moons in Aquarius this year. Aquarius, sign of all kinds of social issues. It's very egalitarian, very idealistic. We've had a lot. This is, very, very much tied into the Black Lives Matter movement, which began when Saturn was in Aquarius last spring. And it's been given an extra spark. This full moon is very close to, within a degree of, the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius last December. So all of these Aquarian issues are up and out, and we're seeing them, and we're going to get a double dose of them this summer. So, this is something to watch in the collective. It's also just kind of a fun full moon in Aquarius. It's a good socializing type of thing. And Mercury opposes Pluto on the 25th. Mercury opposite Pluto, you're speaking your truth to power. Although power may speak its truth to you. Anyway, time for serious discussion, perhaps. And Jupiter retrogrades into Aquarius on the 28th. He's retrograding from Pisces into Aquarius on the 28th, and has another sparked up aspect. This time it's in opposition to Mars on the 29th. And so this is at the very last degrees and minutes of Aquarius. Jupiter's at 2952 Aquarius, while Mars is at 2952 Leo. Now, this really mirrors the Mars-Saturn aspect at the beginning of the month, right? So Mars in Leo, independent, doing my thing, don't really want to listen to anybody. And then there's Saturn in Aquarius, and Saturn in Aquarius says, well, you're going to have to answer to somebody. You have to answer to society. And, and so Saturn in Aquarius, you could get called out by society, or you could get called out by a section of it, or you could actually just say, well, I don't know if I'm going to get away with what I want to do. And similarly, at the end of the month, Mars at 29 Leo really, really wants to do its own thing, go its own way. And now it's got Jupiter in Aquarius, and again, there's this kind of answering to the collective sort of feel to it. Jupiter, of course, is a lot more benevolent than Saturn on these kinds of issues, so you might be able to work things out a little bit better than we saw at the beginning of the month. But it's the same kind of issues. And just for the fun of it, you might note that 29 degrees of Leo is the degree of Donald Trump's ascendant, or Mars, or because his Mars is conjunct the ascendant, and so he then has Jupiter opposite, and so it might be, I don't know if fun is the right word, but it might be interesting to see how that plays out for him. He's always somewhere near the news. All right, there's a July rundown. It was going to be short and sweet, and it went for 16 minutes. See you next month. See you next week. We'll see you for the regular weekly forecast. What are you talking